English tea. Sarah was a little girl who loved stories. Her grandmother, Mrs. Green, would often tell her tales from her trips around the world. One day, while they were sitting in the garden, Sarah asked about a picture she saw. It was a photo of her grandmother, much younger, sitting with a group of people and having tea. "Oh, that," Mrs. Green chuckled. "That was when I was in England. We were having what they call afternoon tea. Sarah's eyes widened with curiosity. "What's afternoon tea, Grandma?" Mrs. Green smiled and began her story. "In England, there's a lovely tradition called afternoon tea. It usually happens around 4 o'clock. People sit down with a cup of tea and some delicious snacks." Sarah asked, "Like cookies?" Mrs. Green nodded, "Yes, but not just cookies. There are sandwiches with cucumber or egg, scones with jam and cream, and of course, some sweet pastries. Everything is tiny and very tasty." Sarah's mouth watered just thinking about it. "Can we have an English afternoon tea, Grandma?" Mrs. Green thought for a moment and then nodded. "Why not? Let's make it special." The next day, Sarah and her grandmother spent the morning preparing. They made small sandwiches, baked scones, and even set the table with Mrs. Green's best china. At 4 o'clock, they sat down in the garden, poured tea into delicate cups, and enjoyed their very own English afternoon tea. It became a weekly tradition for Sarah and her grandmother. Every week, they would try a new type of tea and new snacks. It was their special time together. Years later, when Sarah grew up, she would always remember those days. She would tell her own children and grandchildren about the English tea she had with her grandmother. It was more than just a meal, it was a memory full of love and warmth. Day and nights. Tommy was a curious little boy. He always wondered about the world around him. One day, he asked his mother, "Mama, why do we have day and night?" His mother, Mrs. Brown, sat him down and began to explain. "Well, Tommy, our Earth turns around like a top. When one side of it faces the sun, it's daytime for that part. But when it turns away, it's nighttime." Tommy looked puzzled. "So, the Earth is always spinning?" "Yes," Mrs. Brown nodded. "It takes about 24 hours for it to complete one full turn. That's why we have 24 hours in a day." Tommy thought for a moment. "Then why does the sun rise and set?" Mrs. Brown smiled, "Because as the Earth turns, different parts of it face the sun. When the sun appears to rise, that's our part of the Earth turning towards the sun. And when it sets, we're turning away from it." Tommy looked amazed. "Wow. So the Earth is like a big ball, always spinning and dancing around the sun." Mrs. Brown laughed. "Yes, you can think of it that way." Every day after that, Tommy would watch the sunrise and sunset, thinking of the Earth's dance around the sun. He loved knowing how the world worked, and he always looked forward to learning more. The days turned into nights, and the nights turned into days, but Tommy's curiosity never ended. Every day was a new opportunity for him to learn something new about the world around him. Auto repairing. Jake was very excited. Today, he was going to his uncle's auto repair shop for the first time. Uncle Ben had a small garage where he fixed cars. When Jake arrived, he saw many cars. Some cars were big, some were small. Some cars were red, some were blue. Jake liked all the cars. Uncle Ben saw Jake and waved. "Hello, Jake. Are you ready to learn about cars?" Jake nodded. "Yes, Uncle Ben." First, Uncle Ben showed Jake a car tire. "This is a tire. Cars have 4 tires. They help the car move." Next, Uncle Ben opened a car's front part. Jake saw a big engine inside. "This is the engine," Uncle Ben said. "It makes the car go vroom vroom." Jake laughed. "Vroom vroom." Then, Uncle Ben showed Jake some tools. There was a big wrench, a small screwdriver, and many other tools. "We use these tools to fix cars," Uncle Ben explained. Jake held a screwdriver. "I want to fix cars too." Uncle Ben smiled. "One day, Jake. For now, you can watch and learn." Jake spent the whole day at the auto repair shop. He watched Uncle Ben fix many cars. Jake learned a lot. At the end of the day, Jake said, "Thank you, Uncle Ben. Today was fun." Uncle Ben hugged Jake. "You're welcome. Come again soon." Jake smiled. He knew he would visit the auto repair shop many times. He wanted to learn more and more about cars. And one day, he hoped to fix cars just like Uncle Ben. Big Brother. Anna was a small girl with big brown eyes. She was only 5 years old. She had a big brother named Tom. Tom was 10 years old. He was tall and had short black hair. Anna loved Tom very much. Every day, after school, Tom played with Anna. They played with dolls, cars, and balls. Sometimes, they played in the garden. Sometimes, they played in their room. One day, Anna's toy broke. She was very sad. She cried and said, "My toy is broken." Tom saw Anna crying. He came to her and said, "Don't cry, Anna. I will fix it." Tom took the toy and looked at it. He used some glue and fixed the toy. Anna was very happy. She hugged Tom and said, "Thank you, Big Brother." Tom smiled and said, "You're welcome, Anna. I will always help you." Anna smiled too. She knew she had the best big brother in the world. She felt safe and happy with Tom. Every night, before sleeping, Anna thanked the stars for her big brother. And Tom? He always made sure to take care of his little sister. Because for him, Anna was the most precious thing in the world. Anna with blue eyes. Anna was a small girl. She had beautiful blue eyes. Everyone in her school talked about her eyes. They were like the sky on a clear day. Anna loved her blue eyes. But she was also very shy. When people talked about her eyes, she would look down and smile. One day, Anna's teacher, Mrs. White, gave the class a project. The project was about things we like about ourselves. Anna thought about her blue eyes. She decided to draw a picture of her eyes. She used blue and white colors. She drew big blue circles and little white stars in them. The next day, everyone showed their projects. When it was Anna's turn, she showed her drawing. Everyone clapped and said, "It looks just like your eyes, Anna." Anna smiled and said, "Thank you. I love my blue eyes." Mrs. White said, "You should be proud of them, Anna. They are very special." Anna was happy. She realized that it's okay to be proud of something you have. From that day, she wasn't shy about her blue eyes anymore. She looked at the world with her bright blue eyes and saw how beautiful everything was. The city lights. Tom was a young boy. He lived in a small village. There were only houses, trees, and fields in his village. At night, it was very dark. Tom looked at the stars in the sky. He liked the quiet nights. One day, Tom and his family went to the city. It was his first time. They went in the car for many hours. Tom was excited. When they arrived, it was evening. Tom looked around. He saw big buildings, cars, and many people. But something was different. The sky was not dark. It was bright with many lights. "Look at the city lights," said Tom. The buildings had lights. The streets had lights. There were big signs with lights. It was like a big party. Tom and his family walked around. They saw shops, restaurants, and theaters. The city was alive with noise and light. Tom said, "The city is like a big star on the ground." His mother laughed and said, "Yes, the city lights are our stars here." That night, Tom didn't see the stars in the sky. But he saw the city lights. It was different, but it was beautiful. When they went back to their village, Tom missed the city lights. But he also loved the quiet and the stars. He learned that every place has its own beauty.